Hey everyone, this is Necromancer 1040 here. I know it's been a while, but I've really been enjoying working on this one video, since I know the card I'm going to talk about today is going to be probably one of the cards in the longest time to shift the meta, just based off what this one card can do. Without any further ado, this is my video talking about Dragun of Red-eyes, the format warping card. Yeah, let's get into it. So, if you guys don't know what Dragun of Red-eyes is, it's a level 8 spellcaster fusion monster with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. So the main way you fusion summon Dragun of Red-eyes is by using Dark Magician in tandem with Red-eyes Black Dragon, or your choice of one dragon effect monster. Furthermore, neither player can target or destroy this card with card effects. So there's already a snag in the road when you're trying to take down Dragun of Red-eyes. Furthermore, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, you inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. So you can already see how this monster's amounting to be a lot. If that wasn't enough, you can use that effect the same amount of times, equal to the amount of normal monsters used for its fusion materials. So basically, if you use two normal monsters for its fusion materials, you can use that effect twice. And if you use 3, then you can use it 3 times, and so on. So once per turn, when a card effect is activated, this is a quick effect. You can discard one card and negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and this card gains 1000 attack. So Dragun of Red-eyes gains 1000 attack. So that's basically a brief introduction to Dragun of Red-eyes. And now we're going to go into why it's meta-defining or meta-warping, though you probably already see why. So its ability to negate a card effect is immediately competitive. I mean, for any of you who have been playing a long time in the meta, that's, well, pretty much in modern times, since anything that can pretty much negate is pretty much inherently competitive, this card already has a presence in the scene. In tandem, it also gains 1000 attack points based off of that negation. So, I mean, Dragun of Red-eyes is already no pushover. It's pretty formidable at 3000 attack points. So by the end, if it effectively negates whatever activation, it's going to be a 4000 beater on the board, which makes it difficult to attack over. In tandem with its protection effects, that it's immune to being targeted, or just basically the main ways to destroy it are basically a no-go against Dragun of Red-eyes. It's harder to just destroy it with a bunch of destruction cards and attack over him, since he can just buff himself up. And I mean, I know you can say the one downside Dragun of Red-eyes is that you discard one card from your hand, so it's kind of like a Dark Paladin effect. But for discarding one card from its hand, it can do a whole lot. And also it takes a field advantage away from your opponent. So basically, its destruction effect can destroy something on the field, and it also diminishes your opponent's life points. So you can chip away at your opponent's life points gradually. So that's kind of like the gold standard. Something that negates and something that destroys are two of the most competitive things in the format. So those are two things that this card already has right off the bat. So really, overall, this monster has your opponent playing around its strategy. Your opponent has to specifically tailor their strategy to take down Dragun of Red-eyes, essentially. So, I mean, it's regardless of how of just that you discard one card from your hand, this card does so much for you. It can just sit on the board. It can destroy something with its card effect, basically diminish your opponent's life points, or it can just continue to sit there and negate something and gain attack points and just be a huge beater on the board, or it can actually just swing in and attack. So you can choose to play a very defensive strategy with Dragun of Red-eyes, or I mean controlling strategy in general, or you can go combative with Dragun of Red-eyes. So that's why I think in part it's probably going to be a meta-defining card. So furthermore, what makes this card a little, well, not a little, but very intimidating is it's easy to summon. So you're probably wondering, how is it easy to summon? Basically, it's ideally made for Dark Magician decks, which everyone knows is probably going to get a buff when this card comes out. And it's also made ideally for Red-eyes decks or Dragon decks with polymerization, ideally. But you're not looking to really get it out with just a plain old, plain Jane polymerization. You're primarily going to use super polymerization. That's how a lot of people are going to use, that's what they're going to use to get Dragun of Red-eyes out. Being that Dragun of Red-eyes is a dark attribute monster, and you can just, and a lot of people are going to be playing Dark Magicians and Red-eyes, and during this time they can just use super poly to just take fusion material, potential fusion materials from your opponent and make their own Dragun of Red-eyes. But also, there's this other card called Predaplant Verte Anaconda, and it basically gives any deck access to Dragun of Red-eyes. If not for sure, it's going to give all decks access to Dragun of Red-eyes. So if you don't know what Predaplant Verte Anaconda does, you basically pay 2,000 life points, you send one fusion, polymerization, normal, or quick play spell from the deck to the grave. You get to choose either one of those, whichever one applies for your situation. And then Anaconda's effect becomes that spell's effect when activated. So whatever card you sent to the grave, the ones I mentioned, Predaplant Verte Anaconda's effect becomes that ability. So you're probably, if you're still probably wondering how does this help to get out Dragun of Red-eyes or use its effect, the goal is to send Red-eyes Fusion, and Red-eyes Fusion basically says you can summon out any, or not Dragun of Red-eyes, just Red-eyes monster in general from your extra deck. So that's the goal here. And now, an important caveat to this is you're probably saying, well, this isn't so bad. I mean, yeah, they get Dragun of Red-eyes out on the board, but they're still under the limitations of Red-eyes Fusion and Verte Anaconda's effects. Not quite. Turns out that Verte Anaconda only copies the effect of Red-eyes Fusion. It doesn't copy the restrictions. The part where it says you can special summon for the rest of the term, or during that term, is according to Verte Anaconda. That's a limitation, that's not an effect. So Verte Anaconda only copies the part where it says you can special summon a Red-eyes monster. So that's really the intimidating part of Verte Anaconda, because it can essentially use the effect of Dragun of Red-eyes, and you're still able to summon and go full combo after that, which you can create an insanely destructive board or controlling board alongside of Dragun of Red-eyes. So that's primarily the other thing that makes it competitive in terms of how easy it is to summon. But if you're pulling your hair out of how nightmare, well, quite frankly, how nightmarish Dragun of Red-eyes sounds, I've got a few options for you how to deal with it. So, Dragun of Red-eyes, ironically enough, super polymerization, you can use super polymerization to get Dragun of Red-eyes. That's also an effective way to deal with Dragun of Red-eyes, because super polymerization primarily bypasses pretty much all of Dragun of Red-eyes' effects. So it doesn't target him. It doesn't really destroy him in any way. It just uses him as fusion material. And the ironic part is you can also use your opponent's Dragun of Red-eyes to summon your own Dragun of Red-eyes, which that's kind of a gross laugh at your opponent. I'm pretty sure many tables will be flipped because of that. But also, the upside to super polymerization is it has speed spell 4, so your opponent can't chain or respond to super polymerization, because super polymerization has this shut-off effect where nothing can chain to it. So super polymerization is a pretty great, effective way to get rid of Dragun of Red-eyes. Dragun of Red-eyes can't even respond to it. So yeah, and being that super polymerization has been heavily used in formats since its release, this is probably gonna be one of the main ways that people get rid of Dragun of Red-eyes on the field. So other cards are basically the Solemn cards. Any of the Solemn cards, despite, well, not any. The one exception is Solemn Wishes, but no one cares about Solemn Wishes. But the basic main three, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, and Solemn Warning, those are the main three that you're looking to use against Dragun of Red-eyes. The reason why you're looking to use that against Dragun of Red-eyes is primarily because of that speed spell advantage that you have over Dragun of Red-eyes. So, being that the Solemn card, these three Solemn cards, even Solemn Scolding, are a speed spell 3, while Dragun of Red-eyes is only a speed spell 2, you can basically chain, well, you don't even have to chain, but you can just activate one of these Solemn cards and get rid of Dragun of Red-eyes, because the Solemn cards are speed spell 3 and Dragun of Red-eyes is only speed spell 2, so it can't activate to its speed spell 3. And on top of that, only counter traps can negate counter traps. So that's probably a very effective method to deal with Dragun of Red-eyes. And as a result, we may see more traps being used, in particular the Solemn cards. So that's another way that you can potentially deal with Dragun of Red-eyes. So we're getting into the third option that I'm sure most of you are probably aware of. Kaijus or Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode. So this is basically a very clean method to deal with Dragun of Red-eyes. It's not as slow as the Solemn cards or super polymerization, where it requires you to discard something to pay a cost. The only real cost is you lose the Kaiju from your hand. You just tribute your opponent's Dragun of Red-eyes and you summon the Kaiju onto your opponent's side of the field, or Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode. But Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode, you're looking to basically level your opponent's field. So that's an alternative, yeah. And this is probably, yeah, like I said before, one of the cleanest methods actually to get rid of Dragun of Red-eyes. So, especially with Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, you can get to your Kaiju cards more quickly and readily. So that's the upside to them. And so that's the third alternative. But other kind of more, I guess, sneaky alternatives would be the non-targeting banish effects, such as Evenly Matched. I'm pretty sure you guys are all aware of your own kind of preferences on which cards you particularly use to non-target and banish something. So I'm sure you guys could come up with all sorts of things. But also non-targeting bounce effects, such as Storming Mirror Force or Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. So if you don't know what bounce effects are, is they basically return something from the field to the hand, or return something from the field to the deck. So those are very kind of nifty ways that you can deal with Dragun of Red-eyes. Of course, you're probably gonna have to bait out Nibiru, or not Nibiru, Dragun of Red-eyes' effect once, and then after that you can spring it on Dragun of Red-eyes. But that kind of reminds me, in terms of the tributing, for Kaijus or Winged Dragon of Raw, you can use Nibiru to deal with Dragun of Red-eyes in that way, but just like these non-targeting banish effects and bounce effects, you have to bait out Dragun of Red-eyes' effect, because Nibiru's effect is, well, the way you summon him is not like an inherent summon. It's not like just summon him out just like that. It's basically an effect where you tribute something for him. So you should tribute summon 5 monsters on the board. So basically, Nibiru is an effect, and it's not a cost per summon. So you do have to bait out your opponent's negation effect. So that's primarily the thing that I would say you have to look out for when you're using Nibiru. But you can also use these non-banishing target effects and these non-banishing bounce effects. So yeah, those are alternatives for what you can use to deal with Dragun of Red-eyes. And yeah, with that pretty much wraps up the video. It was really fascinating to look into Dragun of Red-eyes' weaknesses, being that it's going to be one of the probably the most meta-defining card in these upcoming few formats. So, I mean, I'm glad I could inform you guys about it, and hopefully you guys take some of the advice I use, because it'd be kind of cool to see how it actually shapes up to be that way. But if you guys want to help support content like this in the future, you can do so at patreon.com. I mean, of course, you don't have to, obviously, but it's always much appreciated. I mean, I absolutely appreciate everything you guys do, whether if it's on Patreon or whether if it's you just watch my videos and just like them in general. And by like, I don't mean like hitting the like button. Just if you enjoy the videos in general. I mean, it's super humbling. So, I mean, yeah, look out for more videos in the future. I've actually got a lot of content on the way. It's part of the reason why I've taken kind of a bit of a hiatus almost, but it's meant to, I was trying to tackle most of the projects in that time. So yeah, look out for more videos in the future. So I guess with that, that's pretty much the end of this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, take care.